Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'll show you how to create this creative Elementor landing page for your WordPress website using Elementor Flexbox container. Now you may be wondering why I am using the Elementor Flexbox container layout. The Flexbox container feature will soon replace the Elementor editor's current section column and inner section layout. I'm creating this landing page with the Elementor Flexbox container layout because I want to make this tutorial more relevant in the future. The amazing thing is that you don't have to spend a single penny to create this landing page website because I will create it using the free version of Elementor Page Builder. The website that we are going to create in this video has all the essential features that a professional landing page must have. I'll be using Elementor's Hello theme to create this landing page. Hello theme is built with lean, non-intrusive code and has zero unnecessary stylings, making it an excellent choice for creating theme-independent website styles. In other words, because the Hello theme has no default CSS styling, our landing page will not inherit any default CSS styling from it. As a result, you can use any theme, such as Astra, GeneratePress, WP Ocean, and so on, and your landing page's appearance will be consistent across all themes because this landing page CSS styling is not theme dependent. Before we begin creating this landing page, let me walk you through each section one by one. On the very top, we have a sticky header that is completely transparent before scrolling, and will animate and automatically convert into a sticky header with a solid white colored background and having a shadow effect after scrolling. Furthermore, as you scroll down, this Elementor sticky header will change the logo. Below the header, we have Hero section of our landing page. This Hero section includes a heading with an icon, a responsive email collection form, and an image. Next, we have a beautiful responsive slider with a video link on each slide, and a few client logos with nice hover animation. Here we have a services section with the same hover animations as earlier. Down here we have the services features section with icons. Next, we have a pricing section with a countdown timer having a beautiful background image. This type of countdown timer will create a sense of urgency in the mind of your viewers, and ultimately they will most likely convert into potential customers. This pricing section offers 3 different plans as well as has a toggle button that allows you to choose between monthly and yearly billing. Furthermore, this pricing section also has a popular plan with a special focus. Below the pricing section, we have a beautiful accordion section. And below the accordion section, we have a team section. And below the team section, we have an About Us section with a few animated statistics counters. Next, we have our Contact Us section with a responsive contact form and a map with the address. Finally, we have a simple yet attractive footer section with a few links and a responsive subscription form. Now let's first create the sticky header for our landing page. To create the same Elementor sticky header as shown during the landing page demo, you will be required to install one more free plugin that is Elementskit besides the Elementor Page Builder, because Elementor free version does not have a header footer builder. By the way, if you have considered purchasing a pro version of the Elementor plugin, then please consider purchasing via my affiliate link given in the description. In this way, you will help me to keep running this channel without costing you any additional money. To install the required plugins, first, go to the WordPress dashboard, then hover over the Plugins tab, and then click on Add New. Now just type Elementskit in the plugins search field. Here you will get a plugin with the same name by WPMet. Simply install and activate this plugin. To start creating your header, just hover over the Elementskit tab, then click on the header and footer option. Now, click on the Add New button, then enter a title. Select Header from this drop-down, and select the entire site from this drop-down, as well as toggle this switch to activate this header on your website. Here at the bottom, click on the Save Changes. Now, To edit your newly created header with Elementor, simply click on the header title, and then click here. Once you will click on the same button, then this Elementor page builder will open. Now here, you can easily create your Elementor sticky header using the free version of the Elementor from scratch. By the way, I will be creating this Elementor sticky header using Elementor Flexbox container. If you want to learn how to make this Elementor sticky header using Elementor column and inner section layout, then you can watch the end screen video or use the link provided in the video description. Now before proceeding further, let's first finish the few prerequisite settings, such as global fonts and color settings. To do so, click on the hamburger menu icon located in the top left corner of the Elementor Page Builder Editor window. Once you will click on the same, you will get the Site Settings option on the very top. Simply click on that option. Once you will click on the same option, then under the Design System Settings section, you will see two more options that are Global Colors and Global Fonts. Simply set them one by one. Now let's tweak a few important settings. To do so, click on the setting gear icon in the bottom left corner, then toggle the hide title to yes, and the page layout should be Elementor Canvas. Now that we've finished the prerequisite step of the Elementor sticky header creation process, let's open the Navigator tool so that we can easily select the nested elements and their containers. Now, to create your sticky header, first, take a parent container, and then insert one child container inside the parent container. Now, select the child container and duplicate it using the Navigator tool. Next, select the parent container, then click on Items, and then set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to center, and container gap to 0 pixels. While the parent container is selected, go to the Advanced tab, and enter the same class as mine, as well as enter 99 in the Z index field. Now select the left side child container, then set the content width to full width from this drop-down, and then set the width to 20%. Now select the right side child container, then set the content width to full width from this drop-down, and then set the width to 80%. By the way, these are not hard and fast rules. You can come back to these settings and tweak them as needed. Now insert an image widget into the left container, and then select your version of the logo which you want to display before the scroll status of the Elementor sticky header. Next, while your logo is still selected, select the custom link from the link setting drop-down under the Content tab, and then enter the link to your website's home page, so that whenever a user clicks on your Elementor sticky header logo, then the user is redirected to the home page. For the time being, I'm creating this sticky header for a landing page, so instead of entering the home page link, we will enter the ID of the hero section. After that, click on the Advanced tab, and enter the same class name as mine in the CSS classes field. Now duplicate the logo, then select the below copy of the logo image, and then choose the second version of the logo which you want to display after the scroll status of your landing page header. Next, while your second logo version is selected, click on the Advanced tab, and then enter the same class name as mine in the CSS classes field. If you don't want the logo to change after scrolling in your sticky header, then don't change it in the second image widget. In other words, keep the same versions of the logo in both copies of the image widgets, but make sure to change the CSS class of the second copy of the logo. One more thing, you also need to ensure that both versions of the logo should have the same dimensions, so that there is no shift in your header after scrolling. Next, select the left side child container containing your logos, then click on the Advanced tab, and then unlink, and set the left padding to 100 pixels. Similarly, select the right side child container, and set the right padding to 100 pixels. Now, insert a navigation menu, a button, and a search widget in the right side child container one by one. Here make sure to insert the nav menu and search widget that comes from eKit only. Click on the Item Setting option while the right side child container is selected. Now here, set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to flex end, and set the gap to 25 pixels. Now select the Elements Kit nav menu from the navigator, and then select a menu from the drop-down under the Content tab. By the way, if you have not created any menu, and if you want to create a new one, or if you already have a menu, but you want to edit one, then press Ctrl E on your keyboard. Once you will press the same key combination, then this Finder pop-up window will appear. With the help of this Finder, you can search any setting or tool across your website. Now let's search the menu. Here you can see, the menu option has now appeared in the search results. Let's open it in a new tab. Now here, if you want to edit an existing menu, first select the menu you want to edit, and then click on this button. Once you have selected the menu, you can easily remove, reorder, and you can also create a sub-menu. Finally, click on the Save menu to save the changes. For the time being, I have already created the menu for the desktop devices, so let's create a new nav menu for mobile devices. To do so, click this link. Then enter any name you want. And then click this button. Once you will click on the same button, then your menu will be created, but you will still need to add menu items. You can add pages, posts, custom links, and categories as menu items, but for now, let's add a few custom links as menus. To add the custom links as menu items, simply click on the Custom Links option on the left side, then enter the URL, and then type the link text. Finally, click on this button. Now here is one thing you need to understand. I am creating this Elementor sticky header for the landing page, so we will enter hash, followed by the landing page section's ID, so that our menu items will function as anchor links for the various sections of our landing page. To make these menu items work with the anchor link, we need to add the same ID name without the hash to our landing page sections. As a result, make sure to add the same IDs to sections without making any mistakes, otherwise, your menu items will not work. Now that we have successfully created all of the required menu links for mobile devices, let's convert this last menu link into a button, because we will be adding a menu linked button specifically for mobile devices. In order to convert our last menu item into a functional button, we need to apply some CSS styling to it. Before adding CSS styling, we need to add a custom class to the same menu link, but currently, our menu links don't have an option to add a custom class. To enable the custom CSS class input field, go to the top right corner, then expand the screen option. Now here, simply check whatever properties you want to add to your menu links. For the time being, let's check one more option, that is CSS classes property besides the default link target property. Now here you can see, CSS classes input field is populated. Here in this field, you can add a phone number or page link. If you want to add a phone number, then make sure to enter the prefix tel, a colon, followed by a phone number with the country code. In the navigation label field, you can add any Unicode symbol along with the text similar to this. Now in the CSS classes field, make sure to add exact same class as mine. Finally, publish the changes. Now go back to the Elementor sticky header editor page. Now insert a new container above the parent header container. After that, insert the HTML widget within the same container. And finally paste the Elementor sticky header code snippet within the HTML widget. By the way, the download link for the complete code snippets and resources used in this tutorial is included in the video description. Now, here's something I'd like to personally request: don't leave this video right now. I say this because a sizable number of viewers come specifically for the code snippet and then leave the video once they have it. As a result, they don't know how to use the code snippet and they are stuck somewhere. So I would strongly urge you to watch the entire video so that you do not encounter any problems, because I have explained everything in a crystal clear manner. Now one more thing, I just want to let you know that it took me almost 20 hours to make this video for you, so please like and subscribe. It will only take you 2 seconds. Let's move on. In the next step, customize the nav menu, button, and search field as shown. Once you will finish customization, then select and duplicate the nav menu using the navigator tool. Now select the second duplicate nav menu. Then select the mobile menu from the drop-down. While the mobile nav menu widget is selected, go to the Advanced Settings section and click the Responsive tab. Now hide this menu on desktop and tablet devices because we will only use it on mobile devices. Similarly, select the desktop menu widget and hide the same for mobile devices. Now, select the tablet device from the responsive toolbar and rearrange the nav widget as shown. Now select the left side container and adjust the left side padding to 70 pixels and container width to 30%. After that, select the right side container and adjust the right side padding to 70 pixels and container width to 70%. Next, switch to the mobile mode. Then hide the button and child container containing logo on mobile devices. Now select the bottom child container that contains the nav widget. Then click on the items. And then set the justify content to space around and wrap to no wrap. After that, adjust the left and right padding while bottom child container is selected. Now drag and drop a container into the bottom child container as a grandchild container. Then insert an image widget. And finally insert your first version of the mobile header logo. Next, select the newly added logo. Then enter the same class name as mine in the CSS classes field. And then duplicate the same logo. Now select the duplicate logo. Then change the second version of the mobile header logo. And finally change the class name as mine. Now select the grandchild container that contains the mobile logo. Then change the content width to full width. And hide the grandchild container on desktop and tablet devices. By the way, if you want to enlarge the logo, then first, update your Elementor sticky header, then open it into the new tab. Next, activate your browser's responsive design mode and select any mobile device. Now, check your Elementor sticky header appearance on mobile, then go back and adjust the settings as needed. Here I don't want to increase the width of the logo, so I am not changing anything in the width value. Now that we have almost finished creating our Elementor sticky header, let's customize the appearance of the hamburger menu icon. Let's start by changing the hamburger icon and adding the mobile menu logo. To do so, first select the mobile nav menu, then insert the mobile menu logo, and change the hamburger icon under the Content tab. Let's change the hamburger icon for the desktop and tablet menus as well. To do so, first, select the desktop menu, and then insert the mobile menu logo and change the hamburger icon. Let's now change the appearance of the hamburger menu icon. To do so, while the mobile menu is selected, click on the hamburger style option under the Style tab. Now customize the hamburger toggle and close toggle icon appearance as shown here. Similarly, switch to the tablet mode, then select Desktop menu, and customize the hamburger icon appearance. Let's now adjust the margin of the mobile menu logo for both the tablet menu and the mobile menu. To do so, first select Mobile Menu while in mobile responsive mode. Then adjust the margin from the mobile menu logo option under the Style tab. Similarly, switch to the tablet mode and select the desktop menu from the navigator, and then adjust the mobile menu margin from the same location. Now we have almost done with everything, but until now, our Elementor header will not work as sticky header. To make this header sticky, click the HTML widget, then select and cut this closing comment tag, and then paste it exactly here. Finally, update the changes. As you can see, our header is perfectly working. Now that we have successfully completed the Elementor header creation part, let's start creating our landing page from the Hero section. To do so, go to the WordPress dashboard. Then hover over the Pages tab, and then click on Add New. Now enter the page title. Then click on this button. Once you click on the same, your newly created landing page will be open in the Elementor editor. Now, first of all, let's tweak a few important settings for our landing page. To do so, click on the hamburger menu located in the top left corner, then click on the site setting. Here, if you remember, we have already set the global colors and fonts, so I am skipping the same. Next, scroll down to the settings section. Then click on the site identity option. Now here, enter your site name, tagline if any, insert site logo, and finally insert site favicon. Now, what is a favicon? Favicon is nothing but a small icon that appears in the website's browser tabs. Now go back and click on the background option under the settings section. After that, select the background color for your website. As you know, we will be creating this Elementor landing page with the brand new Elementor Flexbox container. However, because the Elementor Flexbox container feature has not yet been officially released for production mode, we must enable it from the settings. To do so, go back and click on the additional settings under the settings section. Once you will click on the same option, then this setting page will be open in the new tab. Now click on the Experiments tab, then scroll down a bit. Here you will get a drop-down setting with the name of the Flexbox container. Simply select Active from this drop-down. By the way, I had already activated this feature before starting our header creation. Finally, scroll down to the bottom, and click on the Save Changes button. Now go back to the Elementor editor page, and then click the Update button here as well. After that, click on this link to come out from the settings. Now, click on the gear icon located in the bottom left corner. Next, toggle the Hide Title button to Yes, and select the Elementor full width from this drop-down. Finally, update the changes. Now, first of all, open the Navigator tool, then take a container. Let's call it Hero Parent Container. To rename the label of any item inside the Navigator, simply double-click on the default label, then enter the name, and deselect the item. Now while the parent container is selected, go to the Layouts tab, and then set the minimum height for 100 VH. Next, click on the items, and then set the direction to column, align items to center, justify content to center. After that, click on the Advanced tab, then unlink and give the 70 pixels value to the top-bottom padding, and 50 pixels value to the left-right padding. Next, insert a child container within the parent container. Then click on the Advanced tab while the child container is selected. Now here, unlink the padding and give the top padding value to 150 pixels, the rest should be 0. Here is something you need to remember: these numerical setting values such as padding, height, and width are not come under the hard and fast rules. Feel free to adjust them as you needed. Now insert a grandchild container within the child container. Let's call it the left grandchild container. Next, set the content width to full width, as well as the width to 50%. Now duplicate the left grandchild container. Let's call it the right grandchild container. Next, select the child container, then click on Items, and then set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to center, and container gap to 0 pixels. Now select the left grandchild container, then insert a heading. enter the content whatever you want. And then do the styling as mine. Now insert a text editor below the heading. Then input the content whatever you want. And then do the styling as I did. Next, insert an icon list below the text editor. Then delete all the list items except 2. Now set the list layout to the inline. And do the rest as I'm doing. Now select the child container, then click on the Style tab, and then insert a background image. Now here, set the position to the bottom right, alignment to the default, repeat no repeat, size to custom, and finally, enter the width value that works for you. Let's now add an inline quotation icon to the title heading. To add the icon in the title heading, simply copy and paste the provided icon code just after the title heading text after a line break. All the codes, including this, has already been provided to you. Next, go to thefontawesome.com. Once the website has loaded, then click on the icon menu. Now you can search for any icon, but for now, let's search for quotation marks. Once the search results are displayed, click on the Free tab to view only icons that are free to use. After that, click on the icon whichever you like. Next, click here to copy this class only. You don't need to copy the entire code. Now go back to the Elementor editor page. Here, replace this class with your copied class. Currently, our icon is not loading because we have not added the Font Awesome CDN link on our landing page. To do so, open the Google search engine. Then search for the Font Awesome CDN link keyword. Here you will get the first result of cdnjs.com. Simply click to open it. Now click here to copy the complete package in the HTML linked tag format. Now go back to the Elementor editor page, then insert an HTML widget within the right child container. And then paste the same CDN link inside the HTML widget. Now you can see that our icon is correctly displayed. If you want to change the size and color of the icon, then change these two properties respectively. Now, we have created all the components of our landing page hero section, except one, which you can say newsletter form or subscription form, or email collection form. In this landing page tutorial, we are going to use the Contact Form 7 plugin for creating the contact, newsletter, and email subscription form because the Contact Form 7 plugin is not only the most popular but also highly customizable. To create the same type of newsletter form as shown during the video intro, first, go to the WordPress dashboard. Then install the Contact Form 7 plugin. For the time being, I have already installed the Contact Form plugin, so let's move on to the next step. Once you have successfully installed the Contact Form 7 plugin, then hover over the Contact tab, and then click on Add New. Now give any name to your form. Then select and delete this default code. Next, paste the HTML code snippet of Contact Form 7 newsletter form. Now here is the shortcode for the email input field. And this is the shortcode for the contact form submit or subscribe button. If you want to change the email input field placeholder, you can do so from here. And if you want to change the text label of the submit button, you can do so from here. Now switch to the Mail tab. Here all the default field entries are okay, except the From field email address and this message body. In the From field, replace the default email address with your SMTP email account. By the way, if you don't know how to set up a professional email SMTP for sending emails, then don't worry, I have a video tutorial on the same topic that you can watch from the description link. Here, first, delete everything except this shortcode and the input your custom message. When a visitor subscribes to your newsletter via subscription form using an email address, let's say name@example.com, then you will receive a notification email that says something like, name@example.com has recently subscribed to your newsletter, thanks. Now, if you want your website to send an auto-reply email, then check this checkbox. Once you will check the same checkbox, then more fields will appear. Now here, replace this default email address with your SMTP email. Then enter the email text message whichever you want to send to your new subscriber. By the way, you can format your auto-reply email with simple text like this, or you can also use HTML markup to format your auto-reply email. If you want to use HTML markup, then you must check this checkbox. And then paste the HTML markup of your email message body like this. Now switch to the Messages tab. Here you can set a custom message for different scenarios. For example, once the sender's message will be sent successfully, then this default message will be displayed. For the time being, I am offering the free website template through this form, so I'm entering this message in this field. You can also input custom messages for other scenarios too. Finally, save the changes. By the way, if you want to integrate MailChimp to add the sender's email address to your mailing list, you can watch the video on the same topic, link given in the description. Now copy this shortcode from here, and go back to the Elementor editor page. Next, select and duplicate the text editor widget located in the left grandchild container. Let's call it Newsletter Form. Now delete this text and paste the copied shortcode into this text editor field. Now here you can see that our newsletter form has appeared, but currently, it is not looking good because we have not yet stylized this form using CSS. By the way, I have given the download links of all custom codes used in this tutorial in the description. You can copy the code snippet from there. Now to stylize this form using CSS, just copy and paste the hero section code snippet in the HTML widget of the right grandchild container. Now select the newsletter widget, click on the Advanced tab, and then enter the same class as mine in the CSS classes field. As you can see, our newsletter form is looking good. Now, what if you want to change the button background color or something else? By the way, I have made a comment before each CSS code block so that you can easily change the CSS as needed. For example, if you want to change the button background color, open the code snippet, and then scroll down to this code block, and then change this color property. Similarly, you can change the button hover color from here. Let's now stylize our hero section for tablet and mobile responsiveness. To do so, click on the responsive mode tool from the bottom left corner, then switch to the tablet mode, and then customize the section as I'm customizing. Once you have finished customizing in tablet mode, switch to mobile mode and make the adjustments as I'm doing. By the way, these setting values are not hard and fast rules, you can change them as needed. Now you can see that we have successfully created the hero section. Next, let's create the testimonial section, or you can say the review section of our Elementor landing page. To do so, insert a container below the hero section. Let's call it Testimonial Parent Container. Now under the Layout tab, set the items direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. After that, go to the Style tab, then set the background color to white. Next, go to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the top-bottom padding to 70 pixels, the rest should be 0. Now insert a container within the testimonial parent container. Then duplicate and make 2 more copies of the newly inserted container. Now, the first container will be referred to as the heading container, the second as the slider parent container, and the third as the client logo container. Next, select the heading container, then under the Layout tab, set the items direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Now, go to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the bottom padding to 40 pixels, the rest should be 0. Next, insert a heading. Then enter the heading text, and do the rest styling as I'm doing. Now, let's start with the client logo subsection before moving on to our custom Elementor slider. To do so, select the client logo container, then set the width to 840 pixels and the minimum height to 100 pixels. Now expand the item setting, then set the direction to row. Next, insert a container within the client logo container and label it as client logo. While the client logo is selected, go to the items, then set the align items to center and justify content to center. Next, go to the Style tab, then do the styling as I'm doing. After this, go to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the left-right padding to 10 pixels, the rest should be 0. As well as enter the CSS class as mine in the CSS classes field. Now insert an image widget within the client logo. Then insert the client logo in transparent PNG format. Here make sure to keep all the client logos with a 3:1 aspect ratio. Now, duplicate the client logo from the Navigator section to make 5 copies. And then replace the client logo with another client's logo. Next, select and duplicate the client logo container. Then delete the excess client logos. And then change the logo's image as above. Now select the second duplicate client logo container. Then set the width to 680 pixels. Now that we have successfully created the client logo subsection, let's create our free testimonial slider. To do so, select the slider parent container, then go to the Layout tab. Set the item's direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. While the slider parent container is selected, insert a container. Let's call it the swiper container. Next, while the swiper container is selected, set the content width to full width, as well as the width to 82%. Now, click on the Advanced tab, and then enter the same class as mine in the CSS classes field. Now insert a container within the swiper container. Let's call it swiper wrapper container. Next, while the swiper wrapper container is still selected, go to the Layout tab. Set the direction to column, and wrap to no wrap. Now, click on the Advanced tab, and then enter the same class as mine in the CSS classes field. Now insert a container within the swiper wrapper container. Let's call it swiper slide. Next, while the swiper slide is still selected, go to the Layout tab and set the direction to row. After that, go to the Advanced tab, then set the padding to 50 pixels and enter the same class as mine in the CSS classes field. Now insert a container within the swiper slide. Let's call it video container. Next, while the video container is selected, go to the Layout tab. Under the container option, set the container width to full width, width to 50%, and minimum height to 300 pixels. Now click on the Items option. Then set the Align Items to Center, and Justify Content to Center. Now duplicate the video container from the Navigator, and rename it to the Comment container. Next, while Comment container is still selected, go to the Layout tab. Set the Align Items to Flex Start, and the Content Gap to 0 pixels. Now, within the Comment container, insert an icon, a text editor, and a heading. Now customize all 3 widgets one by one as I'm doing. Next, select the video container. Then go to the Style tab and set a background image that has a 3:2 aspect ratio. After that, set the background setting repeat to no repeat and background to cover. Next, expand the border setting. Then set the border radius to 10 pixels and set the box shadow as mine. Now insert an eKit video widget within the video container. Next, go to the Content tab. Then change the icon if you wish. Enter the video link and enable whatever feature you needed. Now go to the Style tab. Then under the button Style, do the rest as I'm doing. Now that we have successfully customized our custom Elementor slider for desktop view, let's style our WordPress Testimonial Slider section for tablet and mobile view. To do so, select the responsive mode from the bottom left corner, then select the tablet view from the top of the screen. Next, adjust the settings as I am doing. After you have finished with tablet mode, switch to mobile mode and make the adjustments I'm making. Now that we have successfully made our WordPress slider section completely responsive, let's proceed further. Next, select the swiper slide and duplicate as many slides as you needed. Now change the content of all the duplicate slides one by one. Next, select the swiper wrapper container, then set the direction to row, and content gap to 0 pixels. Now insert an HTML widget just below the heading. Then paste the custom Elementor slider code snippet within it. By the way, you can grab the code snippet from the description, but before that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this. Now you can see that our swiper slider is fully functional. Let me explain a few key points in the Elementor slider code snippet. First and foremost, we achieved this slider animation effect by using a popular and advanced library known as the swiper slider. By the way, I'm only going to explain the code snippet superficially. If you want to learn more about the swiper slider, please watch another video on my channel on the same topic. The link is provided in the description. You can also visit swiperjs.com for further insights. Once the swiper slider website will load, then you can go through these options. Now, let's go back to the Elementor editor page. Here on the very top, we have a swiper slider CDN link. And this is the jQuery CDN link. If you have already added the jQuery CDN link on the same page, then you can remove this link from here. Now here are some CSS variables. This code block is for the appearance of the slider pagination, and this one is for the appearance of the slider pagination bullets. Here this code block is for the hover effect of this client logo section. Now down here, you will get some JavaScript and jQuery code snippets for our slider. Now that we have successfully created our testimonial slider section, let's move on to the services section. To do so, insert a container below the testimonial section. Let's call it the services parent container. While the services parent container is selected, go to the Style tab and set the background color of the section. After that, click on the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the top-bottom padding to 70 pixels and the left-right padding to 30 pixels. Now insert a container within the services parent container, then duplicate it to create another container. Now, the first container will be referred to as the title container, and the second as the services container. Next, while the services container is still selected, go to the Items Setting option and change the direction to row. Now select the title container and insert a heading within it. Now enter the heading title and proceed as I am. Next, insert a container within the services container. Let's call it the service card. While the service card is still selected, go to the Layout tab and set the minimum height to 300 pixels. Next, expand the Items settings and set the Align Items to Center and Justify Content to Center. Now go to the Style tab and set the background color to white. Give 12 pixels to the border radius and set the box shadow as mine. Now, click on the Advanced tab. Then unlink and set the left-right padding to 15 pixels, the rest should be 0. As well as enter the same CSS class as mine in the CSS class's input field. Now, insert an icon box within this container and then customize the icon box widget as I'm customizing. Now, select the service card. Then duplicate it twice to create 3 service cards. Next, change the content of the duplicate service cards as you needed. Now here you can see that we have successfully created our services section. By the way, this hover animation is triggered by this code block because we have applied this exact same class on our service cards. We'll make our services section responsive shortly, but first, let's create the features section. To do so, insert a container below the services section. Let's call it the features parent container. While the features parent container is selected, go to the Style tab. Then set the background color for your feature section. After that, click on the Advanced tab. Then unlink and set the top-bottom padding to 70 pixels and the left-right padding to 30 pixels. Now, insert a container within the features parent container. Let's call it the title container. Now duplicate the title container and rename the new duplicate container to the features wrapper container. Now select the title container, go to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the bottom padding to 30 pixels. After that, insert a heading within the title container. Now enter the heading title and proceed as I am. Next, insert a container within the features wrapper container. Let's call it the top feature container. While the top feature container is selected, go to the items and set the direction to row. Next, insert a container within the top feature container. Let's call it the feature card. While the feature card is selected, go to the items and set the direction to row. Now insert a container within the feature card. Let's call it the icon container. Now duplicate the icon container and rename the new duplicate container to the description container. Now select the icon container, then go to the Layout tab, and then set the content width to full width and width to 25%. Next, insert an icon within the icon container and insert a heading and a text editor within the description container too. After that, proceed in the same manner as I am. After you have finished styling, select and duplicate the feature card twice to create 2 more copies. Now, change the content of the duplicate featured cards. After that, select and duplicate the top feature container and rename the new duplicate container to the bottom feature container. Now change the feature card content of the bottom feature container. Now that we have successfully created the features section, let's make our services and feature section responsive for tablets as well as mobile. To do so, select the responsive mode tool from the bottom left corner, then switch to the tablet mode from the top of the screen. Next, adjust the settings as I am doing. After you have finished with tablet mode, switch to mobile mode and make the adjustments I'm making. Now that we have successfully made our services and features section completely responsive, let's create our pricing section. To do so, insert a container below the features section. Let's call it the pricing parent container. While the pricing parent container is still selected, go to the Style tab and set the background color of the section. After that, click on the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the top-bottom padding to 70 pixels and the left-right padding to 50 pixels. Now insert a container within the pricing parent container, then duplicate it to create another container. Now, the first container will be referred to as the top pricing container, and the second as the bottom pricing container. Next, select the top pricing container, then go to the Items Setting option, and set the direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Now insert a heading within the top pricing container. Let's call it the title heading. Next, enter the heading title, and proceed as I am. Now, insert a container below the heading within the top pricing container. Let's call it the toggle button container. While the toggle button container is still selected, go to the Layout tab and set the content width to full width and width to 36%. After that, expand the item setting. Set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to center, and elements gap to 0 pixels. Next, switch to the Style tab and set the box shadow as mine. Now, insert a container within the toggle button container. Let's call it the monthly billing button. While the monthly billing button is still selected, go to the Style tab and set the solid border with 2 pixels width. After that, go to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the top-bottom padding to 8 pixels and the left-right padding to 5 pixels, as well as enter the same ID and CSS class as mine in their respective fields. Now insert a heading within the monthly billing button. Next, enter the heading title and rest do the styling as mine. Once you will finish the styling, then duplicate the monthly billing button and rename it to the yearly billing button. While the yearly billing button is still selected, go to the Advanced tab and change the ID and CSS class as mine. Next, change the text of the yearly billing button. Now that we have successfully created the toggle button for our Elementor pricing table, let's create our actual pricing table. To do so, insert a container within the bottom pricing container. Let's call it the pricing table wrapper. While the pricing table wrapper is still selected, go to the Items option. Set the direction to row, and the elements gap to 0 pixels. Now, insert a container within the pricing table wrapper. Let's call it the small plan wrapper. Next, duplicate the small plan wrapper twice to create 2 more containers. After that, rename the middle duplicate container to big plan wrapper and the bottom one to agency plan wrapper. After that, select the small plan wrapper, go to the Layout tab, then set the container width to full width, and width to 32%. Next, expand the items option. Set the direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Now, select the big plan wrapper. Go to the Layout tab. Then set the container width to full width, and width to 36%. Next, expand the items option. Set the items direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Now, select the agency plan wrapper. Go to the Layout tab. Then set the container width to full width, and width to 32%. Next, expand the items option. Set the items direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Now insert a container within the small plan wrapper. Let's call it the small plan container. While the small plan container is still selected, set the minimum height to 390 pixels. Now, go to the Style tab. Set the background color and box shadow. Now, within the small plan container, insert 2 headings, followed by a divider, then another heading, and then a container, followed by an icon list, and at the bottom, insert a button widget. Now customize all the widgets of the small plan container one by one. While you customizing this divider, then make sure to set the width in a pixel unit, not in percentage, otherwise, your divider will disappear once you will align items to the center. Now here in this pricing tag heading, I have added a few custom IDs and classes, so you need to add exactly the same IDs and classes in your heading as well. By the way, I have provided complete code snippet download links in the description along with all the heading codes, so you don't need to worry, simply follow along with me, and your Elementor pricing table will be created without any trouble. Now select this container. Let's call it the discount container. While the discount container is still selected, go to the Layout tab and set the content width to full width and width to 50%. After that, expand the item setting. Set the direction to column, align items to center, and justify content to center. Next, go to the Style tab and set the background color. Next, go to the Advanced tab. Set the padding to 3 pixels, and enter the same CSS class as mine in the CSS classes field. Now, insert a heading within the discount container. Next, enter the heading title, and the rest do the styling as mine. Now select the button widget and rename it the monthly cart button. After that, do the styling as I do. Now that we have successfully stylized the appearance of all the elements in the small plan container. Now, select the small plan container, then expand the items option. Set the items direction to column, align items to center, justify content to center, and elements gap to 15 pixels. Before we proceed further, let's stylize the already created components of our WordPress pricing table for tablet and mobile devices. To do so, select the Responsive Mode tool from the bottom left corner, then select the tablet mode from the top of the screen, and do the changes as I'm doing. After you have finished with tablet mode, switch to mobile mode, and do the adjustment as I'm doing. Next, select and copy the small plan container and paste it into the both big plan wrapper as well as in agency plan wrapper. Now select the newly pasted small plan container from the big plan wrapper and rename it to the big plan container. While the big plan container is still selected, change the minimum height to 450 pixels. Next, switch to the Style tab. Then change the background color and box shadow as well as add 5 pixels bottom border. Now switch to the Advanced tab and set the Z index to 1. Next, modify the content of the big plan container as needed. Next, modify the content of the agency plan container as needed. If you want to convert any list item text to bold text, then enclose the text line within the strong HTML tag, as shown here. After you have finished the changes, insert a container above the Big Plan container within the Big Plan wrapper. Let's call it the Focus Label container. While the Focus Label container is selected, go to the Layout tab. Set the content width to full width, and width to 55%. Next, switch to the Style tab, and set the background color. Next, switch to the Advanced tab, and set the padding to 5 pixels. After that, insert a heading within the Focus Label container. Following that, enter the heading text and style it as mine. Now, select the Big Plan wrapper, then expand the Items option under the Layout tab and set the Elements gap to 0 pixels. Next, switch to the Advanced tab, then unlink and set the bottom padding to 22 pixels. Now that we have successfully customized all of the plans of our Elementor pricing table in the desktop view, let's see what else needs to be done in the tablet and mobile views. To do so, select the Responsive Mode tool from the bottom left corner, then select the tablet mode from the top of the screen, and proceed as I am. After you have finished with tablet mode, switch to mobile mode, and proceed as I am. Now that we have customized our Elementor pricing table in all the devices, let's change the appearance of the middle Focus Plan Cart button. Finally, duplicate each plan container's monthly cart button. And rename it to the yearly cart button one by one. You may be wondering why I duplicated the buttons to create one additional button in each pricing plan container. The reason is that in the monthly cart button, we will link our monthly pricing cart, and in the yearly cart button, we will link our yearly pricing cart. When a user will click on the monthly plan, then the monthly cart button will appear, and if a user switches to the yearly plan, then the yearly cart button will appear. One last note, once a user will switch the plan, then he or she will not recognize the button switching because our button style is exactly the same. Now, let's enter the cart link for monthly as well as yearly plans. For demonstration purposes, I will input the Google search engine link in the monthly button and the Bing search engine link in the yearly button. Now, select the monthly cart button, then go to the Advanced tab, and enter the same CSS class as mine in the CSS classes field. After that, select the yearly cart button, then go to the Advanced tab, and enter the same CSS class as mine in the CSS classes field. Similarly, do the same with the Big Plan container buttons and Agency Plan container buttons. Now copy the provided code snippet from the link, and insert an HTML widget above the title heading. Let's call it the Elementor pricing code snippet. Now paste the copied Elementor pricing table code snippet within the HTML widget. Now, let's see if our Elementor pricing widget is working or not. But before that, let me update the changes on our page. Otherwise changes will not be reflect on actual site. Now you can see that our toggle button is perfectly working. Let's also check if our button link is changing with the toggle button or not. If you remembered, I have added the Bing.com link to the yearly cart buttons and Google.com to the monthly cart buttons. So when the monthly billing is activated by the toggle button, then Google.com should open with a click of the button. And when yearly billing is activated by the toggle button, then the Bing.com should open with a click of the button. As you have seen, our cart buttons are also perfectly working. Now, let me explain how you can change the price in our Elementor pricing table before and after the button toggle. To explain this, let me switch to the Elementor editor page. Now here at the very top, we have the jQuery CDN link. If you have already added the jQuery CDN link on your page, then I would recommend you to remove it from here. With the help of this code block, you can change this pricing value color and font size. And from here, you can change the border and background color of this toggle button. With the help of these code blocks, you can change the color of the button text. Here is one thing you need to understand, that any CSS code block, like this, has an active class will take effect on the clicks of the toggle button. These are the media query code blocks. And this is the jQuery code block. Here, if you want to change the yearly price, then change it from here. And if you want to modify the text that appears here after switching to the yearly plan, you can modify it from here. Now, if you want to change the monthly price and this text, then you need to change it in two places. First, change the price value from here, and modify the text from here. The second is that, select the price value heading that is placed below the divider, and then change the price value and text from here. Now that we have successfully created the pricing table for our pricing section, let's create the countdown timer for the same. To do so, insert a container within the top pricing container. Let's call it the countdown timer wrapper. While the countdown timer wrapper is still selected, go to the Items Setting option. Then set the direction to row, align items to center, and justify content to center. After that, switch to the Style tab and set the background image from your media library. If you have not already uploaded the background image to your media library, then you can do so using this button. By the way, I have already provided the code snippet along with all the resources in the description. You can get it from there at any time. Now set the repeat to no repeat and size to cover. Next, switch to the Advanced tab. Then set the padding to 12 pixels. Now, insert a container within the countdown timer wrapper. Let's call it the countdown info container. While the countdown info container is still selected, go to the Items option. Then set the Align Items to Flex End, and justify content to center. Now duplicate the countdown info container and rename the duplicate container to the countdown num container. While the countdown num container is still selected, go to the Items option. Then set the direction to column, align items to flex start, and elements gap to 5 pixels. Now insert a container within the countdown num container. Let's call it the time container. While the time container is selected, go to the Layout tab, then set the content width to full width and width to 35%. After that, expand the Items option. Then set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to center, and elements gapped to 11 pixels. Now duplicate the time container and rename the duplicate container to the label container. Now insert a container within the time container. Let's call it the day counter. While the day counter is still selected, go to the Layout tab. Then set the content width to full width, width to 35 pixels, and minimum height to 35 pixels. After that, expand the Items option. Then set the Align Items to Center, and justify content to center. Next, switch to the Style tab and set the background color. Now insert a heading within the day counter and input the exact text as mine in the text field. Next, do the styling as mine. Now here is one thing you need to keep in mind, that you will not see any text in these headings, because we have not added any text content except a span tag with an ID and a class. Once you add the code snippet to our Elementor countdown timer, then the counter will appear automatically. You can find the code snippet at the link provided in the description. Now select and duplicate the day counter thrice to create 3 more containers. Now rename the first duplicate container to the hour counter, the second duplicate container to the minute counter, and the third duplicate container to the second counter. Next, change the heading text of all the duplicate containers as mine one by one. Now insert a container within the label container. Let's call it the day label. While the day label is still selected, go to the Layout tab, then set the content width to full width and width to 35 pixels. Next, insert a heading within the label container, and input the exact text as mine in the text field. Next, do the styling as mine. Now select and duplicate the day label thrice to create 3 more containers. Now rename the first duplicate container to the hour label, the second duplicate container to the minute label, and the third duplicate container to the second label. Next, change the heading text of all the duplicate containers as mine one by one. Now insert a heading within the countdown info container. Now input the exact text as mine in the text field. Next, do the styling as mine. Now insert an HTML widget above the countdown timer wrapper. Let's call it the countdown timer code snippet. Next, copy and paste the Elementor countdown timer code snippet into the HTML widget. Now here you can see that our Elementor countdown timer is working perfectly. Let's stylize it for tablet and mobile devices. To do so, select the responsive mode tool from the bottom left corner and select the tablet from the top of the screen. Now, modify the settings as I am. Once you are finished with the tablet, then switch to the mobile mode and do the styling like mine. Now let's see how you can change the target date of the countdown timer. To do so, open the code snippet. In the JavaScript code block, you will get a variable with the name of the countdown date. To change the target date, you need to enter the month in 3-letter format, followed by the date of the month, and then a comma, followed by the year in full digits, and time in hours, minutes, and seconds format. If you want to change the text that appears after the countdown time is over, you can do so from here. Sometimes newly updated target date may not reflect in the Elementor. You don't need to worry, simply save the changes and preview your page. Now that we have successfully created the Elementor countdown timer for our landing page, let's create the Accordion section of our Elementor landing page website. To do so, go back to the Elementor editor page. Now insert a container below the pricing section. Let's call it the Accordion parent container. While the Accordion parent container is selected, go to the item setting. Then set the direction to row. After that, switch to the Style tab and set the background color. Next, switch to the Advanced tab and set the top-bottom padding to 70 pixels and the left and right padding to 50 pixels. Now insert a container within the Accordion parent container. Let's call it the Accordion description container. Next, duplicate the Accordion description container and rename the duplicate container to the Accordion main container. Now insert a container within the Accordion description container. Let's call it the info container. While the info container is selected, go to the items option and set the elements gap to 10 pixels. Next, duplicate the info container and rename the duplicate container to the rating container. While the rating container is selected, go to the items option, set the direction to row, align items to center, justify content to center, and elements gap to 0 pixels. Now insert a heading and a text editor within the info container. Now stylize both widgets one by one as mine. Next, insert a container within the rating container. Let's call it the LinkedIn rating container. While the LinkedIn rating container is selected, go to the items option, set the align items to center, justify content to center, and elements gap to 10 pixels. Next, duplicate the LinkedIn rating container twice to create 2 more containers. After that, rename the duplicate containers to the divider container and Upwork rating container respectively. Now select the LinkedIn rating container, go to the Layout tab, then set the content width to full width and width to 47%. Next, select the divider container, go to the Layout tab, then set the content width to full width and width to 6%. Next, select the Upwork rating container, go to the Layout tab, then set the content width to full width and width to 47%. Now insert a heading and a star rating widget within the LinkedIn rating container. Next, style both widgets as mine one by one. Similarly, within the Upwork rating container, insert a heading and star rating widgets and style as before. Now insert a divider within the divider container and customize it as mine. Now, insert an accordion widget within the accordion main container. Now do the rest as I'm doing. Now, go to the Content tab, and then input the title and description. If your Font Awesome icon does not appear in your title heading, then don't worry, once you will add the code snippet in the next step, then the Font Awesome icon will appear automatically because I have added the Font Awesome CDN link in the code snippet. In the title field, input the same code line as mine because you will not be able to add this icon before the title without using this small piece of code. By the way, I have given the complete code snippet for this Elementor accordion section along with the title heading code snippet in the video description. You can download it at any time. Here in this title, I have used the Font Awesome icon. If you want to change the icon, then go to fontawesome.com. Once the website will load, then click on the icon menu. Now here you can search for any icon. For now, let's search user gear. Once the search result will populate, then click on the free tab to filter free icons only. After that, click on the icon whichever you like. Next, click here to copy this class only. You don't require to copy the complete code. Now go back to the Elementor editor page. Now replace this class with your copied class. Next, insert an HTML container in between the accordion description and accordion main container. Now paste the Elementor accordion code snippet in the HTML input field. Now here you can see that the appearance of our Elementor accordion widget has completely changed after adding the code snippet. You cannot achieve this kind of appearance of the accordion widget with the default settings, even in the Elementor Pro version without using the custom code. Now let's customize our Elementor accordion section for tablet and mobile devices. To do so, select the responsive mode tool from the bottom left corner and select the tablet from the top of the screen. Now, modify the settings as I am. Once you are finished with the tablet, then switch to the mobile mode, and do the styling like mine. Now that we have successfully created our Elementor accordion section, let's create our landing page's team section. It is not difficult to create a team section. First, we will add a few containers, followed by required elements such as a heading. We'll be using the image box from the Elements Kit add-on, as well as copying and pasting styles from previously created components like heading. So, first, let's add the container skeleton. Now add the main heading. Now add an image box and social icons widget. Next, let's customize the appearance for tablet and mobile devices. Finally, duplicate the profile container and edit the image and description. Now that we have created our landing page theme section, let's move on to the About Us section. To begin creating the About Us section, let's first add the required number of containers. Next, inside the description container, add a heading, a text editor, and a button. Now, insert an image into the image container. Finally, customize the appearance for tablet and mobile devices. Now that we have created an About Us section of our landing page, let's create a statistic counter. To begin creating the statistic counter section, let's first add the required number of containers. Next, inside the title container, add a heading. Now, insert an icon and a counter into the counter container. Next, let's customize the appearance for tablet and mobile devices. Finally, duplicate the counter and edit the icon and label text. Now that we have successfully created our landing page statistic counter section, let's move on to the contact forms section. In order to create the contact section, we will be required to install two plugins, the first and foremost Contact 7 plugin, and the second one is Simple Custom CSS and JS by SilkyPress. I have already installed both plugins. You can install them from the WordPress plugin repository. To begin creating the Contact Us section, let's first add the required number of containers. Next, inside the map container, add 2 headings, a Google Map widget, and an icon list. Now, go back to the WordPress dashboard. Once you will install the required plugin, hover over the Contact tab, then click on the Contact Forms option. Now here you will get a default design of the Contact Form 7. You can edit the default one or add a new contact form. For the time being, let's create a new form. To add a new form, simply click on this button and enter a name for your new form. Next, select and delete the entire code because we don't need it. Instead, we'll add our own. By the way, I have provided you a download link in the description for all of the required code snippets for this contact form. You can access it at any time. Now paste the HTML code snippet of this Contact Form 7 design. Finally, save the changes. If you want to learn more about the process of creating this contact form, you can watch the detailed video linked in the description. Now, hover over the Custom CSS and JS tab, then click on the Add Custom CSS option. Next, enter the name. Then delete the default comment from here, and then paste the CSS code snippet. Finally, publish the custom CSS. Next, click on the Contact tab. Then copy the shortcode of the same contact form design. Now, go back to the Elementor editor. First update, then refresh the same page. Next, insert a text editor widget into the form container. Now, paste the copied contact form shortcode into this field. Now here you can see, our contact form is looking good, but the input field placeholder icons are not properly rendered because I used the Google Material icon in the placeholder. To render the Google Material icon, we need to add the Google Material icon CDN link somewhere on our contact page. In our case, let's add Google Material CDN link to this heading. Now that our Google Material icons have been properly rendered, let's customize the form's appearance for tablet and mobile devices. Now that we have created our landing page contact section, let's move on to the footer section. To make a footer with Elementor free version, you will be required to install one more free plugin, that is ElementSkit, besides the Elementor page builder, because Elementor free version does not have a header footer builder. Folks, if you considered purchasing a pro version of the Elementor plugin, then please consider purchasing via my affiliate link given in the description. In this way, you will help me to keep running this channel without costing you any additional money. For the time being, I have already installed all of the required plugins, so let's move on. Once you will installed all the required plugins, hover over the ElementSkit tab, then click on the header footer option. Now here, click on the Add New. Then enter a title. Select Footer from this drop-down, and select the entire site from this drop-down, as well as turn on this toggle switch to activate this footer on your website. Here at the bottom, click on the Save Changes. Now, to edit your created footer using Elementor Editor, simply click on the footer title, and then click on this button. Once you will click on the same button, then this Elementor page editor will open. Now before anything else, let's first add the major container skeleton for our Elementor footer. Next, inside the About container, insert a heading, a text editor, and a button. Next, insert a heading and an icon list within the Quick Links container. Now in the link field of the icon list widget, you can add the ID of the relevant sections, or else add direct relevant page links. I am creating this Elementor footer for the landing page website, so let's add the section ID so that when the user will click on the link, the web page automatically will scroll to the same section. To make our links work as desired, we need to add the same IDs to our page sections. In fact, let me show you how you can add the same IDs to the relevant sections of your website. Now that we have successfully added all the required IDs to the relevant sections, let's first update the changes before returning to our Elementor WordPress footer editor window. Next, inside the services container, add a heading and an icon list. Next, customize the icon list as earlier, but this time you can add actual page links instead of section IDs. Now before adding anything to this container, let's first add copyright text in the copyright container. Next, insert two headings one after the other inside the terms container. After that, customize the same headings as well as add the links to the relevant pages such as the privacy page. Now in this container, let's add a heading, a text editor for our subscription form, and another heading followed by a social icon widget. Now that we have added and customized all of the subscription containers widgets except the subscription form, because we haven't yet created our subscription form. To create the subscription form, let's go back to the WordPress dashboard. Now, hover over the Contact tab and click on the Contact Forms option. Now here you will get a default design of the Contact Form 7. You can edit the default one or add a new form. For the time being, let's create a new form. To create a new form, simply click this button and enter a name for it. Next, select and delete the entire code because we don't need it. Instead, we will add our own. Folks, I have provided you a download link in the description for all of the required code snippets for this subscription form. You can access it at any time. Now paste the HTML code snippet of this subscription form design. Finally, save the changes. Next, copy the newly created subscription form's shortcode from here. Now, go back to the Elementor footer editor. Now, first update, then refresh the same page. Next, select the text editor widget and add the same CSS class as mine into the CSS classes field under the Advanced tab. Now, paste the copied subscription form shortcode into the text editor field under the Content tab. Next, insert an HTML widget below the social icon. Now, paste the CSS code snippet of this footer subscription form into this field. Now here you can see, our subscription form is looking good. Let's customize the appearance of our Elementor footer for tablet and mobile devices. Now that we have created our WordPress Elementor footer, in addition, we can add a cherry on top by creating a scroll to top button, or you can say back to top button. To create a scroll to top button, first, add an icon at the bottom of the footer container. While newly added icon is selected, go to the Advanced tab, then add the same class as mine in the CSS classes field. In order to work our Elementor scroll to top button properly, we will be required to add a small code block of CSS as well as JavaScript to an HTML widget. You can add code snippets to an existing HTML widget, or you can add a new one. For the time being, let's add our back to top button code snippet to a new HTML widget. Now, if you want to reposition your scroll to top button, you can do so using these two properties. To check if everything is working properly, open any page of your website in an incognito tab. As you can see, everything is working fine. Now that we have successfully created our Elementor landing page. Folks, I just want to let you know that it took me several days to make this video for you, so please like and subscribe. It will only take you 2 seconds, and if you are facing any problems, please let me know in the comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.